a promise to forever. A billionaire was about to get married until he saw a doctor, his ex, with twins. 6 years after he left her, not knowing she was pregnant, Julian Cole, heir to one of the largest construction companies in the country, runs into Dr. Elena Suarez in the most improbable place, a hospital's grand reopening ceremony, where she, now head of pediatrics, gets on stage. He crumbles inside as he sees her in the audience. But it's not the reunion that changes everything. It's what comes next. 2 blonde boys, with blue eyes identical to his, run toward her, calling, "Mom." Julian feels the ground disappear. They were his sons, and no one had told him. Now, with the truth exposed, he will have to face the past, break off a toxic engagement, and prove he is ready to be a father, and perhaps win back the love of the woman who raised an entire family alone. The afternoon sun in March filtered through the wide windows of Our Lady of Guadalupe Children's Hospital, creating small rainbows on the silent IV bags hanging beside the beds. Elena Suarez adjusted the stethoscope around her neck and observed the familiar movement of the pediatric hallway. Nurses on shift conversed in low voices, and the soft echo of hurried footsteps resounded on the waxed floor. And there, always there, was the sweetest sound in the world, the crystalline laughter of a child who had just been discharged. At 32, Elena wore on her face the serenity of someone who had learned to turn pain into care. Her brown hair, always tied in a practical bun, framed honey-colored eyes that had the unique ability to calm any patient with just one look. She was loved by parents, respected by colleagues, and had an almost legendary reputation for being able to get even the most restless babies to fall asleep in her arms. "Dr. Suarez, the ceremony begins in 15 minutes, said Marta, the head nurse, appearing at the door of the medicine room where Elena was reviewing the afternoon's files. Elena sighed, putting the pen back in her coat pocket. The hospital's privatization had been announced 3 months earlier, and today would be the official handover of the new pediatric wing. Renovations, modern equipment, promises of better care. All of that sounded good on paper. But she knew the healthcare system well enough to know that promises were not always kept. "Is the responsible company really going to be present?" she asked, more out of courtesy than genuine curiosity. "Cole Construction? The owner himself is coming to the ceremony." Marta smiled, tidying up some papers. "He must be someone important? The whole board is nervous." The name resonated in Elena's mind like a distant echo of a song she would have preferred to forget. Cole. She shook her head, pushing away any unnecessary thoughts. Mexico City had thousands of companies, thousands of last names. It was just a coincidence. 20 minutes later, Elena went up to the small stage set up in the hospital's main lobby. The place was full. Employees, local press, a few politicians, and in the front row, men in dark suits who clearly did not belong in that hospital environment. She held the microphone. She took a deep breath and began. "Good afternoon. My name is Elena Suarez. I have been head of pediatrics at this hospital for 4 years. I want to talk about what this affair means to us, but mainly to the children and families we serve here." It was then that she saw him. In the front row, among the executives, a man of about 35 was watching her with an expression she knew all too well. His blonde hair had some lighter strands, as if time had brushed over them. His face was more angular and mature, but with the same blue eyes that had once made her believe in forever. Julian Cole. He was there, motionless as a statue, his gaze fixed on her. The words died in Elena's throat. The microphone trembled in her hands. The silence in the auditorium stretched for seconds that felt like an eternity, until she forced her voice to return. "I apologize. As I was saying, this reform represents hope. But Elena could no longer concentrate on the speech. Each word came out automatically, while her mind fought against the flood of memories that Julian brought with him. Her hands were sweating, her heart was racing, and she felt herself once again as the young 26-year-old doctor who had fallen madly in love with a man she couldn't have. When she finished the presentation and came down from the stage, Julian was no longer in the audience. "Mom! Mom!" Two identical voices echoed down the hallway. Elena turned and smiled, feeling her heart calm for the first time since she had gone on stage. Leo and Tiago ran toward her, small toy white coats over their school clothes, backpacks bouncing on their backs. At 6 years old, the twins were the perfect combination of pure energy and infinite affection. They had come home early from school. Elena knelt down to hug them, breathing in the smell of children's shampoo that always calmed her. "Aunt Claudia said there's a party here at the hospital today," said Leo, always the most curious. "Can we see it? And is there cake?" Tiago completed, pragmatic as always. Elena laughed, taking both of their hands. "Let's go see the party then, but only for a little bit. After, we need to go home and do homework." "Oh, Mom," they grumbled in unison, but were already pulling Elena back toward the main lobby. It was exactly as they rounded the corner of the main hallway that Elena stopped abruptly. There, standing next to the reception desk, Julian Cole was watching her again. But this time, his eyes were not on her. They were fixed on Leo and Tiago. Elena saw the exact moment that reality hit Julian like a punch to the stomach. The blue eyes identical to his own, the shape of the face, the color of the hair. It was like looking into a mirror of the past multiplied by 2. Julian took a step forward, then stopped. His expression changed from surprise to something Elena couldn't decipher. Astonishment, pain, maybe even hope. "Mom, who is that man?" Leo whispered, hiding behind Elena's leg. "He's looking at us a lot." "He looks sad," Tiago observed, always more empathetic. "Did we do something wrong?" Elena felt the ground disappear from under her feet. 6 years of protection, of well-intentioned lies, of sleepless nights explaining to herself why it was better this way. All of it was crumbling in a matter of seconds. Julian approached slowly, like someone approaching a wounded animal. He stopped a few feet away and said in a hoarse voice, "Elena." "Julian." The name came out of her lips like a confession. Leo and Tiago looked at each other, with that sharp perception that children have for shifts in adults' emotional atmosphere. "There," Julian began, but couldn't finish the sentence. "We need to talk." "Elena," he said firmly, "but not here, not now. Elena, I didn't know. If I had known." "I said not here," she repeated, holding the children's hands tighter than she intended. "Mom, are you okay?" Tiago asked, frowning. "Your hands are freezing." Elena knelt down again, forcing a smile. "I'm fine, love. Just a little tired. How about we go home early today?" "But what about the cake?" Leo protested. "Another day, I promise." Julian watched the interaction with the expression of someone who had just discovered the existence of an entire continent he didn't know existed. When Elena stood up to leave, he gently stopped her by the arm. "Please, just tell me, are they 6? So many things she wanted to say, so many accusations, so many questions, so much accumulated pain that it could all come out at once and explode like a bomb in the middle of that crowded hallway. But there were also 2 children holding her hands, and they came first. Always. "Yes," she said simply. "They're 6. Julian closed his eyes, and Elena saw his shoulders tremble slightly. "My God! Elena, No, not now," she interrupted him. "If you want to talk, call me. But far from here. They don't need any more confusion in their lives." Elena walked past him without looking back, guiding Leo and Tiago to the exit. But in the elevator, Tiago asked. Mom, that man knows us. And Leo, always direct, completed. He has the same eyes as us. Elena took a deep breath, pressed the button for the ground floor, and decided that lying to them was becoming increasingly difficult. And maybe, after 6 years, it was time to stop trying. Stop. What would you do if you were in Elena's shoes? Would you allow Julian to be a part of your children's lives? Or is it too late for a second chance? Share your opinion in the comments. The beginning of a new life. That night, after the children were asleep, Elena sat on the balcony of her simple but cozy apartment in the Roma Norte neighborhood. The city throbbed below, with constant traffic and lights that never went out. She held a cup of tea that had already grown cold, but she didn't remember drinking. The phone rang 5 times before she answered. Elena? Julian's voice was different, broken, vulnerable in a way she had never heard before. What do you want, Julian? I need to know. I need to understand. Why did you never tell me? Elena laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. Are you serious? You really want to know why I never told you I was pregnant with the man who called me a gold digger and said he never loved me? Elena, No, you're going to listen to me now. Her voice was firm, 6 years of pain finally finding its way out. I found out I was pregnant 3 days after we broke up in that awful downtown cafe. 3 days, Julian. I had the test in my purse when you said I was just a fling. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I almost called you, Elena continued. I almost went to your house, but then I remembered the way you looked at me that day, as if I were a mistake you wanted to erase, and I thought, why would he want to know about a child with me, if he didn't even want me? My God, Elena, I was a coward. You were a boyfriend, she interrupted him, and I was the secret mistress. You don't need to make up excuses now. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. And you know what else? I don't regret it. It may sound crazy, but I don't regret it. Because Leo and Tiago grew up without the burden of being sons of a man who abandoned them. They grew up free, loved, without needing to fight for attention with important last names or a millionaire inheritance. Julian took a long time to respond. They're my sons, Elena. They are, biologically. But you are not their father. A father is someone who is present. A father is someone who wakes up in the middle of the night when they have nightmares. A father is someone who teaches them to tie their shoelaces and not to hit their classmates at school. You are just the man who contributed half of their DNA. That can change. Julian's voice was desperate now. I can learn. I want to learn. Why? The question came out harder than Elena intended. Why now, Julian? Because you saw them and they look like you. Because you're finally sure they're yours. Or because your heavy conscience won't let you sleep. Because I never stopped loving you. The words hung in the air like a confession that had come 6 years too late. Elena felt her heart clench, but she forced her voice to remain firm. Love isn't enough, Julian. I learned that the hard way. I can prove it. Let me prove that I've changed. How? Elena asked, genuinely curious. How are you going to prove you changed when you don't even know who they are? Do you know that Leo is afraid of clowns but loves dinosaurs? That Tiago only eats fruit if you draw a happy face on the peel? That they share everything, absolutely everything, except the last cookie in the package because each one wants the other to have it? Julian was silent. Do you know that they ask me about their father almost every week, and that I'm dying to make up a beautiful story, but I can't lie to them? Do you know that Leo cries in secret because his friends have a dad and he doesn't? That Tiago says that when he grows up he'll get me a husband, so I won't be alone? Elena's voice broke on the last sentence. I didn't know, Julian whispered. Elena, I swear if I had known. But you didn't know. And now they are here, and they are perfect and happy, and I'm very afraid that you'll show up in their lives and then disappear when you get tired of playing father. That's not going to happen. How can you be sure? Because I saw them today. I looked into their eyes. And Elena, it was as if a part of me that I didn't even know was lost had returned to its place. Elena closed her eyes. She knew that feeling. It was exactly how she felt every morning when Leo and Tiago ran to her bed and woke her up with sticky kisses on her face. They are my everything, Julian. If you want any chance of being a part of their lives, you'll have to prove yourself to me, to us, and it won't be easy. What do you want me to do? A DNA test, she said, surprising herself. I know they are yours. You know they are yours. But I want this to be documented. Officially, if you're going to be in their lives, I don't want any legal doubts in the future. Of course, whatever it takes. And Julian, Elena hesitated. Are you still engaged to Sophia? The silence stretched for so long that Elena thought the call had been cut off. Julian! Yes, I still am. Elena felt as if someone had thrown a bucket of cold water on her. Then we have nothing to talk about. Elena, wait. No, you show up in my life after 6 years, you find out you have children, and you're still engaged to the same woman you abandoned me for. Do you really think I'm going to let you meet my children, and then have to explain to them why you chose someone else again? It's not that simple. Yes, it is. You choose. Like you chose 6 years ago. The difference is that now, if you choose wrong, it won't just be my heart you'll break. Elena hung up the phone and stayed there on the balcony until the sun came up. What do you think of Elena's ultimatum? Is she right to demand that Julian break off his engagement before letting him meet the children? Or is this a mistake? Join the discussion in the comments. The last word, when Leo and Tiago woke up, they ran to the kitchen as they always did, expecting to find their mother making breakfast. But Elena was sitting at the table, still in her robe, with deep dark circles under her eyes, and an expression they had never seen before. Mom? Tiago approached slowly. Did you sleep? Elena opened her arms, and the two of them snuggled up to her, one on each side. Not much, she admitted. But everything is fine. Were you thinking about the man from yesterday? Leo asked, with the amazing perception of children. Elena looked at him, surprised. Why do you think that? Because you got weird after seeing him, and you only get like that when you're worried about important things. Was he important? Tiago asked. Elena took a deep breath. He was, a long time ago. But people change, and sometimes what was important stops being important. But if he was important one day, can he be important again? Leo asked. Elena looked at the two children, with their curious blue eyes and their questions that went straight to the heart of the matter. 6 years trying to protect them from a pain that maybe no longer even existed. 6 years denying them the right to know half of their story. He can, she said finally, but only if the person proves that they deserve to be important again. Tiago and Leo looked at each other with that silent communication that only twins possess. Then we'll wait for him to prove it, Tiago finally said. Elena hugged them tighter. We'll wait for him to prove it. 2 weeks passed since the reunion at the hospital, and Elena felt as if she were walking on a bridge that swayed with every step. The DNA test had confirmed what everyone already knew. Leo and Tiago were Julian Cole's sons. The official document was stored in her desk drawer, next to the children's birth certificates, as a silent reminder that some truths cannot be ignored forever. Julian had called every day since then. He didn't pressure. He didn't demand. He just asked how they were, if they needed anything, if Elena had thought about when he could meet the children properly. His voice on the phone conveyed a contained anxiety that she recognized. It was the same anxiety that consumed her every time Leo or Tiago got hurt, and she couldn't do anything but wait. Dr. Suarez, there's a man at reception asking for you, Carla, the hospital receptionist said, appearing at the door of the medicine room. He says it's urgent. Elena looked at the clock on her wrist. It was 15 minutes to 6 in the afternoon. Leo and Tiago would arrive in 10 minutes, brought by the nanny who picked them up from school twice a week. She sighed, putting away the files she was reviewing. Send him up. When Julian appeared at the door, Elena immediately realized that something was different. He was wearing dark jeans and a white dress shirt without a tie, very different from the impeccable suits he wore at the company. His hair was slightly messy, as if he had run his hands through it several times, and there was a determination in his eyes that she hadn't seen in a long time. I broke up with Sophia, he said without preamble. Elena stopped organizing the papers on the table. What? I ended the engagement. Earlier today. I told her everything. About you, about the children, about how I should never have chosen what I chose 6 years ago. Elena felt the ground move beneath her feet, but she forced her voice to remain calm. And how did she react? How do you think she reacted? Julian ran his hands through his hair. She said I was making the biggest mistake of my life, that you were an opportunist, that the children might not even be mine for real, that I was being manipulated. And what did you say? That she was talking about the woman I love and about my children, and that if she said one more word about you, I would call security. Elena felt something move inside her chest, a mixture of relief, fear, and a dangerous hope that she had buried years ago. Julian, I know it doesn't change anything that happened. I know it doesn't erase the 6 years I wasn't here, but now I'm free to try to fix what I broke. Before Elena could respond, the sound of little footsteps echoed down the hallway, followed by the familiar voices. Mom! Aunt Claudia said you were here. Leo and Tiago appeared at the door of the room. They stopped abruptly when they saw Julian. The three of them watched each other for a tense moment, and Elena saw the same look of astonishment from 2 weeks ago on Julian's face. Hello, Tiago said shyly. Hello, Julian replied, his voice hoarse. You're Leo and Tiago, right? Yes, Leo confirmed, always more direct. And you're the man who made Mom weird. Leo! Elena reprimanded him, but Julian laughed, a genuine and nervous sound. Yes, I think I'm that man, he said, crouching down to be at the children's height. I'm sorry for making your mom weird. I didn't mean to. Why were you looking at us that day? Tiago asked, with the innocent curiosity of children. Julian looked at Elena, asking for permission in silence. She took a deep breath and nodded almost imperceptibly. Because you remind me of when I was little, Julian said carefully. You have the same eyes as me. Leo frowned, studying Julian's face. It's true. Tiago, look at his eyes. They're just like ours. Tiago nodded in wonder. Does that mean you're our... It's complicated, Elena interjected quickly. We'll talk about this at home, okay? But Leo, always perceptive, had made the connections. You're our dad. It wasn't a question. It was a statement said with the certainty of a child who had just discovered the missing piece of the puzzle. Julian closed his eyes for a moment, and when he opened them, they were moist. Yes, I am. Why did you never come to see us? Tiago asked with the brutal honesty of children. Because I didn't know you existed, Julian replied, his voice breaking. And when I found out, I first needed to make sure I could be a real father to you. And can you now? Leo asked. I want to try very hard, if you let me. The twins looked at each other with that silent communication they possessed, and Elena saw an entire conversation happen in a matter of seconds. Can we think about it? Tiago finally said. Of course, Julian smiled, and Elena saw discreet tears running down his face. You can think about it for as long as you want. 3 days later, Elena was finishing a delicate surgery on a premature baby when her cell phone vibrated insistently. She ignored the first few calls, but when she realized there were 15 missed calls in 20 minutes, she asked the nurse to answer. "Doctor, it's urgent. There's something on the internet about you," Marta said, handing her the phone with a worried expression. Elena left the operating room, took off her gloves, and answered a call from Julian. "Elena, where are you?" "At the hospital. Why is everyone—" "Don't leave. I'm on my way there." "Julian, what's going on?" "Sophia." "What about her?" "My God, Elena. I didn't imagine she was capable of this." Elena felt her stomach clench. Capable of what? "She gave an interview to a gossip site. She said you seduced a married man. You got pregnant on purpose, and now you're trying to extort his family. There are photos of you leaving the hospital with the children, with an article making up that you're an opportunist who goes after rich men." The world spun around Elena. She leaned against the hallway wall trying to process the information. Did she use my name? The children's names? She was smart. She didn't use names, but anyone who knows us knows who she's talking about. She's destroying your reputation to force me to come back. "My God," Elena whispered. "What if the patient's parents see this? What if the hospital board—" "I'm coming there. Don't talk to anyone from the press. Don't talk to until I get there." But it was too late. When Elena went down to the ground floor of the hospital, there were 3 reporters at the reception and a group of onlookers outside. The questions all came at the same time. "Dr. Suarez, is it true that you got pregnant on purpose to blackmail Julian Cole? How do you respond to the accusations that you're using the children to extort money? Do you confirm that you kept your sons hidden to gain financial leverage later?" Elena felt nauseous. She gently pushed the reporters and walked out the side door, but they followed her. It was then that she saw Leo and Tiago getting out of Claudia's car, the nanny, who was coming to pick her up for her routine medical appointment. "Mom!" Tiago shouted, running towards her. "No!" Elena yelled, seeing the cameras turn toward the children. "You can't film them." But the damage was already done. The flashes went off, the microphones were extended, and Elena saw the exact moment that Leo and Tiago realized something was very wrong. The fear in their eyes broke her more than any headline. Claudia, bless Claudia, acted quickly. She took the children by the hand and led them back to the car, while Elena tried to block the cameras with her own body. "Please, leave the children alone," she pleaded. "They have nothing to do with this." It was then that Julian arrived, like a hurricane. Elena had never seen him so furious. He stood between her and the reporters, with such an intimidating presence that they instinctively backed away. "Get out of here, now!" he said in a low voice, but full of authority. "And if I see any image of these children published anywhere, you'll be dealing with my lawyers. Mr. Cole, do you confirm that you ended the engagement because of this situation?" "I confirm that I ended my engagement because I discovered that my ex-fiancé is capable of using innocent children to try to manipulate me," Julian replied, looking directly at the camera. "And if you publish any lies about the mother of my children, I will sue each and every one of you individually." Elena felt her legs buckle. Julian held her by the arm, firm but gentle. "Let's get out of here." In the car on the way to Elena's apartment, they drove in silence. Leo and Tiago were in the back seat, holding hands, quiet in a way that broke her heart. "Mom," Julian said finally in a small voice, "why were those people yelling at you?" Elena turned to them, trying to stay calm. "Sometimes, when people don't like something, they make up stories that aren't true." "And they don't like you?" Leo asked, indignant. They don't know me, Elena explained, but someone told them lies about me. Was it the woman who doesn't like that Dad is our dad? Tiago asked, with a perception that surprised both adults. Julian turned around, impressed. How do you know about her? We listen, Leo said simply. You talk on the phone, and sometimes Mom gets sad afterward. And if a woman doesn't like that Dad is our dad, then she must be bad, Tiago concluded, with the impeccable logic of children. Elena felt her eyes fill with tears. 6 years protecting them from lies and manipulation, and in one day, everything had fallen apart. Listen, Julian said, stopping the car in front of Elena's building. I'm going to fix this. I promise you won't have to go through this again. How? Leo asked. By telling the truth to everyone. That night, after their children were asleep, Elena and Julian sat at the small but cozy kitchen table of her apartment. The television was on with the news, and the story about them was the third item on the program. Scandal involving coal construction heir and public hospital doctor gains relevance on social media, the presenter said, showing blurry photos of Elena and an old photo of Julian. This is going to destroy my career, Elena said, her voice breaking. The parents of my patients will see this and think I'm not trustworthy. The hospital board could suspend me until this is cleared up. It won't come to that, Julian said, taking her hand across the table. Early tomorrow, I'm giving a press conference. I'm going to tell the truth about everything. And your company, your family, they can have it, he said. And Elena saw that he was serious. Elena, let me finish. He squeezed her hand. I won't let them destroy you for my mistakes. If the price of defending you is losing everything I have, then so be it. But I won't stand by while she hurts you and the children. Elena looked at the man in front of her, the same man who 6 years ago had chosen appearances over love. But there was something different in his eyes now, a determination that hadn't existed before. And what if your family disinherits you? What if you lose the company? Then I'll rebuild it, alone if necessary, or with you if you let me. Before Elena could answer, a small voice echoed from the hallway. Mom, I can't sleep. Tiago appeared at the kitchen door, carrying his teddy bear. Julian immediately got up, as if he had no right to be there during the children's bedtime. I'm leaving, he said. It's late anyway. No, Tiago said, surprising both of them. You can stay. Love, your dad has his own house, Elena explained gently. But he can sleep on the sofa, Tiago insisted, looking at Julian. So if those bad people come back, you're here to protect us. Elena felt her heart clench. Julian knelt down to Tiago's level. You want me to stay? Yes, and Leo wants you to too, but he's pretending to be asleep. How do you know? Because when he's really asleep, he snores, and he's not snoring. Elena laughed despite everything, and saw Julian smile for the first time in days. If your mom lets me, I'll stay. Tiago ran to Elena and put on that irresistible face that she could never refuse. Please, Mom, just for today? Elena looked at Julian, who was watching her with a hopeful and vulnerable expression. For 6 years, she had been the only one responsible for all the important decisions in the children's lives. 6 years, making decisions alone, protecting them from everyone and everything. Maybe it was time to start sharing that burden. Okay, she said finally. Just for today. Tiago celebrated in a low voice and gave Julian a kiss on the cheek before running back to his room. Elena saw Julian close his eyes and touch the spot on his face where Tiago had kissed him, as if he wanted to save that moment forever. Elena, he said, his voice hoarse with emotion. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, she replied. But she was smiling. You still have to prove that you deserve to stay. I will, he promised. Every day, for the rest of my life, I'll prove it. And that night, for the first time in 6 years, Elena slept knowing she wasn't alone. Not completely alone. And when she woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of Leo having a nightmare, it was Julian who got up first from the sofa and followed her to the children's room. "Dad?" Leo whispered in the dark, still half asleep. "I'm here," Julian replied, and Elena saw tears running silently down his face. "Are you leaving in the morning?" "Only if you want me to leave." "I don't want you to." "Then I'm staying." And for the first time in 6 years, Elena began to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could really be a family. What do you think of Julian's decision to stay with Elena and the children? Do you think he's truly changed, or is he just reacting to the situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. A new beginning the next morning arrived with a different silence in Elena's apartment. It wasn't the tense silence of the last few days, but a hopeful stillness, as if the whole house was holding its breath before a major transformation. Elena woke up early, as she always did, but for the first time in 6 years, she found someone in the kitchen making coffee. Julian was standing with his back to her, wearing the same clothes from the day before, stirring something in a frying pan. The smell of pancakes floated in the air, and Elena felt a pang of nostalgia so strong that she had to lean against the doorframe. "Do you remember?" she said softly. Julian turned around, a shy smile on his face. "That you love pancakes on Sunday mornings. I never forgot." "It's not Sunday, but it felt like it should be," he replied, and there was something in his voice that made Elena's heart race, as if it were the first day of something new. Before Elena could answer, Leo and Tiago came running into the kitchen, still in their pajamas, hair messy, and with that morning energy that only children have. "Dad!" Tiago shouted, throwing himself into Julian's arms. "You didn't leave!" "I said I would stay," Julian said, lifting him into the air, and Elena saw that his hands were trembling slightly with emotion. "And I always keep my promises." "Always?" Leo asked, always the most cautious. "From now on, always," Julian promised, looking directly into the boy's eyes. The phone rang, interrupting the moment. Elena answered, and her expression immediately changed. "Dr. Reyes?" "What? But that's—" "Yes, I understand. Thank you for letting me know." She hung up with shaky hands. "What happened?" Julian asked, immediately on alert. "It was the hospital director. Someone filed an anonymous complaint against me with the Mexican Council of Pediatrics, alleging medical negligence and emotional instability. They're going to open a formal investigation." The silence in the kitchen was deafening. Even the children sensed the gravity of the situation. "Mom, are you going to lose your job?" Tiago asked, his eyes filling with tears. "I don't know, love," Elena said, trying to keep her voice steady. "But Mom never did anything wrong, so nothing should happen." Julian had his fist clenched, his jaw tense. "That was Sophia! She's not going to stop until she completely destroys you." "What do I do now?" Elena felt her strength leaving her. "My career, my reputation, everything I built." "Mom." Leo came over and took her hand. "You saved Pedrito's heart when he came to the hospital. Remember? And you made Mrs. Anna's baby stop crying just by singing to him," Tiago completed. "You're the best doctor in the world." Elena knelt down and hugged the two children, feeling tears run down her face. How could they be so wise and strong at 6 years old? "That's it," Julian said suddenly, with a determination that Elena had never seen. "This ends today." "What are you going to do?" "What I should have done 6 years ago. I'm going to tell the truth, all of it, publicly." 3 hours later, Elena was watching the most important press conference of Julian's life on television. He was sitting behind a simple table, with no advisors, no lawyers, Just him and the naked, raw truth. "My name is Julian Cole," he began, looking directly at the cameras. "And I've come here today to tell a story about cowardice, love, and redemption." Elena held her breath. 6 years ago, I met an extraordinary woman, Elena Suarez. She was a pediatric resident, came from a simple family, and had the purest heart I have ever known. We fell madly in love, but I was engaged to someone else, an engagement arranged out of family and business interests. The cameras focused on Julian's face, capturing every nuance of emotion. When my then-fiancée discovered our relationship, she gave me an ultimatum, and I, out of pure cowardice, chose appearances over love. I broke up with Elena in the cruelest possible way, saying things that weren't true, hurting the only person who truly loved me. Elena saw tears running down his face on the screen. What I didn't know was that Elena was pregnant with twins, my sons, and because of my cowardice, she raised Leo and Tiago alone for 6 years, alone, but with so much love that they became the most extraordinary children I have ever met. The press room was in complete silence. 2 weeks ago, fate gave us a second chance. I discovered my sons and tried to win back Elena's trust. But my ex-fiancé, who until yesterday was my fiancé again, did not accept it. She began a smear campaign against Elena, making up lies, destroying the reputation of a brilliant doctor who dedicates her life to saving children. Julian stopped, took a deep breath, and continued. "So I'm here to make a few things clear. First, Elena Suarez never, at any time, tried to blackmail or extort me. She raised our children alone, paying for every bill, every medication, every school uniform with her own salary. Second, she never prevented me from knowing the children. It was I who was not present, out of pure ignorance and cowardice. Third, Elena is the most competent and dedicated doctor I know, and any complaint against her is clearly motivated by personal revenge." He stood up, picked up a folder, and took out some documents. "Here are the receipts for Elena's expenses for the children over the last 6 years. Every medical consultation, every school supply, every piece of clothing, all paid for by her. If there is anyone who owes anything in this story, it is I, who owes 6 years of child support, 6 years of presence, 6 years of fatherly love." The conference continued for over an hour, with Julian answering all the journalists' questions with a brutal and disconcerting honesty. He admitted mistakes, took responsibility, and defended Elena with a passion that made her heart race. When it ended, Elena's phone rang immediately. "Hey, don't you yell!" "Yes, you do," the three of them replied in unison, and she realized that for the first time she was being outvoted by her own family. Family. The word resonated in her mind with a naturalness that surprised her. 2 weeks later, on a Sunday afternoon, Julian was helping Leo with a volcano model for school when Tiago approached him. "Dad?" "Yes, champ." "Are you going to marry Mom?" Julian almost knocked over the volcano. Elena, who was washing dishes in the kitchen, stopped with her hands in the soapy water. "Why do you want to know that?" Julian asked carefully. "Because you've been sleeping on the sofa for 3 weeks, and the sofa is no place for a dad to sleep," Tiago explained with the simple logic of children. "Dad has to sleep in Mom's room. And also because Amanda in my class said that when parents love each other, they get married," Leo completed. "Do you guys love each other?" Elena appeared at the door of the living room, drying her hands on a dish towel. Julian looked at her, and she saw in his eyes the same question the children had asked. "That's adult talk," Elena said. "Finally. But we're part of the family," Tiago protested. "We have the right to an opinion." "And what is your opinion?" Julian asked, genuinely curious. "You have to propose to Mom," Leo said, "in the right way, on one knee and with a ring." "And can we be the best men?" Tiago added hopefully. Elena felt her heart racing dangerously. "Children, that's not how—" "Elena," Julian interrupted her, getting up slowly. "Can I talk to you alone?" They went out to the balcony. The sun was setting over Mexico City, painting the sky in orange and pink. Julian was silent for a long moment, watching the city that stretched out before them. "They're right," he said finally. "About what?" "About me sleeping on the sofa. About it being no place for a dad." He turned to her. "Elena, I know it's still early. I know you have every right not to trust me, but I don't want to live half a life anymore. Julian, let me finish." He took her hands. "I spent 6 years of my life doing what other people expected of me, marrying who was convenient, working where it was appropriate, being who was accepted. And in the end, I was empty. Completely empty." Tears began to roll down Elena's face. "But now, with you and the children, I feel whole for the first time in my life. I wake up every day wanting to be a better person, wanting to deserve their love, wanting to build something real and true." "You already deserve it," Elena whispered. "You have for 3 weeks now. You prove it every day. Then answer me one thing. Can you forgive me? Can you trust me again?" Elena looked at the man in front of her. The same man who had broken her heart 6 years earlier, but who was now there, vulnerable, honest, fighting every day to win back not only her love, but the trust of 2 children he had not known. "I already forgave you." Her voice was broken with emotion. "I don't know exactly when it happened, but I already forgave you. And trust? I'm learning again. Every day I'm learning again." Julian smiled, and it was as if the sun had risen in the middle of the sunset. "Then, do you accept?" "Accept what? You haven't asked anything yet." Elena laughed through her tears. It was then that Julian did exactly what Leo had suggested. He knelt down, took a small velvet box from his pocket, and opened it, revealing a simple and delicate ring. "Elena Suarez," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "Will you marry me? Will you accept to give me the opportunity to be the husband you deserve and the father our children deserve? Will you accept to build a real family with me?" "Accept, Mom!" 2 voices shouted from the living room. "We're listening, and you have to accept!" Elena and Julian laughed, tears rolling freely down both their faces. "They have a convincing argument," Elena said. "And you, what do you say?" Elena looked at the ring, at the man kneeling in front of her, at the living room door where she knew 2 little boys were holding their breath, waiting for her answer. "I say yes," she whispered. "Yes to everything. To marriage, to family, to starting over. Yes." Julian slid the ring onto her finger and stood up to kiss her, but they were interrupted by Leo and Tiago, who launched themselves into the middle of the hug, shouting, "We did it! He did it! We're going to be a real family." 6 months later, on a sunny September morning, Elena woke up on her wedding day, with Leo and Tiago jumping on the bed. "Mom, wake up! Today you're going to become Dad's wife, and we're going to be the handsomest, best men in the world," Tiago added, already wearing his tiny tuxedo. The ceremony took place in the garden of Our Lady of Guadalupe Children's Hospital, surrounded by colleagues from work, patients Elena had treated over the years, and the 2 families, the traditional Cole family, who had learned to respect Elena after seeing their son reborn by her side, and Elena's small but warm family, made up of friends who had become brothers. When Elena walked down the makeshift aisle between the chairs, arm in arm with Leo and Tiago, who insisted on giving her away to their father, Julian felt his heart was going to explode with happiness. "Take good care of our mom," Leo whispered to Julian when they reached the altar. "Forever," Julian promised. During the ceremony, when the officiant asked if there was anyone against the union, Tiago raised his hand. "I'm in favor," he shouted, drawing laughter from everyone present. And when they were finally declared husband and wife, Leo and Tiago shouted in unison, "Now we're a complete family." A year later, Elena and Julian inaugurated the Leo and Tiago Children's Institute, a clinic specialized in free care for children with chronic diseases. The name had been the idea of the children themselves, who wanted other children to have the same opportunity to be cared for with love that they had always had. On the plaque at the entrance, a simple phrase summarized everything they had learned. True love is not the one that never fails. It's the one that chooses to stay, even after the failures. And on a random Sunday afternoon, Elena watched Julian teaching Leo and Tiago how to play soccer in the garden of the new house they bought together. Laughter echoed in the air, mixed with the sound of the wind in the trees and the distant noise of the city. "Mom!" Tiago shouted from the garden. "Are you coming to play with us?" "I'm coming," she shouted back, dropping the book she was reading and running to join her family, the family she almost lost, that she fought to win back, and that she now knows is indestructible. Forever. Elena finally understood that some love stories need to be broken before they can be rebuilt, and when they are rebuilt, with the experience of pain and the wisdom of forgiveness, they become unbreakable. Forever. What did you think of this emotional ending? What did you learn from this story about forgiveness and love? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more impactful stories.